The transport ship shuddered as it docked with Station Meridian 7. Hana Kim pressed her face against the small window and watched the massive structure come into view. The station was bigger than anything she had ever seen, a giant wheel spinning slowly in the darkness of space. Lights blinked along its surface like stars. She was nervous. Her hands were sweating inside her gloves. Back on Earth, they had told her she was ready. They said she had scored high in all the tests. But now, looking at the alien station, she felt very small. The docking tunnel opened with a hiss. Hana grabbed her bag and followed the other passengers out. Most of them were aliens. Tall ones, short ones, ones with scales and ones with fur. They all moved past her without looking. She was the only human on this transport. The station's main corridor was crowded. Aliens of every type walked in groups, talking in languages she couldn't understand. Some of them were wearing military uniforms like hers. When they saw her, they stopped talking. They stared at her. Some of them whispered to each other. Hana kept walking. She had been warned about this. Lieutenant Day Park had sent her a message before she left Earth. He told her that humans were new to the Galactic Coalition. Most aliens had never met a human before. Some of them thought humans were weak. She found the training facility entrance and went inside. The building was huge, with ceilings so high she could barely see them. The floors were made of some kind of metal that rang under her boots. Everything was built for people much bigger than her. A group of recruits stood in formation in the main hall. They were all massive. The smallest one was twice her size. They wore the same gray uniform she did, but on them it looked normal. On her it felt too big. "You must be the human." A voice spoke from behind her. Hana turned around. A man in an officer's uniform stood there. He was human too, and she felt a wave of relief. "Lieutenant Park?" she asked. He nodded. "Welcome to Meridian 7, Recruit Kim. I'm sorry I couldn't meet you at the dock. How was your trip?" "Long," she said. "But fine." Lieutenant Park smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "I need to be honest with you. This place isn't friendly to our kind. Most of these aliens come from warrior cultures. They respect strength and size. We have neither in their eyes." "I can handle it," Hana said. "I know you can. That's why you're here." He gestured toward the hall. "But there's one officer you need to watch out for. Commander Vorath. He's from the Scarith Empire. Big reptile, red scales, voice like grinding rocks. He runs this training program and he hates humans. Why? Because he's afraid of us. He just doesn't know it yet." Park handed her a data pad. "Here's your schedule and bunk assignment. Formation starts in 10 minutes. Don't be late." Vorath loves punishing late arrivals. Hana took the pad and nodded. Park squeezed her shoulder once, then walked away. She looked at the screen. Bunk 47D. She started walking, following the signs on the walls. The barracks were even bigger than the main hall. Rows of bunks stretched into the distance. Each one was designed for aliens much larger than her. She found her bunk and threw her bag on it. The bed was hard and too big, but it would do. "You're the human." Hana looked up. A massive creature stood next to her bunk. It had 6 legs and a body covered in dark blue shells. Its eyes were black and shiny like marbles. It had to be at least 3 meters tall. "Yes," Hana said. "My name is Hana. I am Tyel." The creature's voice clicked and buzzed. "I did not expect to have a human as a bunkmate. Your species is very small." "We are," Hana agreed. "But we manage." Tail tilted its head. "How did you pass the physical requirements?" "The standards are the same for all species." "I trained hard," Hana said simply. The insect creature made a sound that might have been a laugh. "You will not last long here. Commander Vorath will break you in the first week. He breaks everyone who is weak." Hana didn't respond. She unpacked her bag in silence. Tyle watched her for a moment, then walked away, its legs clicking on the metal floor. 10 minutes later, sirens blared through the barracks. All the recruits ran toward the main hall. Hana ran with them, her legs pumping hard to keep up with their longer strides. She made it to the formation just as a massive figure entered the hall. Commander Vorath was huge. He stood almost 4 meters tall with red scales covering his body. His eyes were yellow and cold. When he walked, the floor shook. His uniform was covered in medals and symbols that meant nothing to Hana. "Recruits." His voice boomed through the hall like thunder. "You are here because your governments believe you are strong enough to serve the Galactic Coalition. Most of you are wrong." He walked along the formation, looking at each recruit. When he got to Hana, he stopped. He leaned down, bringing his massive head close to hers. His breath smelled like metal and smoke. A human, he said. His voice was quieter now, but more dangerous. I have heard of your species. You are diplomats, politicians, talkers. He straightened up and addressed the whole formation again. This one will not survive the first day. Some of the other recruits laughed. Hana kept her eyes forward. Her heart was pounding, but she didn't move. She didn't speak. Vorath smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. We begin training at dawn. You will run 50 kilometers. You will climb the assault towers. You will fight each other in the combat pits. Those who fail will be sent home in shame. He looked at Hana again. Some of you will fail very quickly. The formation was dismissed. The recruits scattered, heading back to the barracks or to the meal hall. Hana stood still for a moment, breathing slowly. Her hands were shaking, but not from fear. It was anger. She had traveled across the galaxy to be here. She had trained for years. And this commander thought she would quit on the first day. She wouldn't give him the satisfaction. That night, Hana lay in her too-big bunk and stared at the ceiling. She could hear the other recruits talking and laughing. Nobody talked to her. She was alone among hundreds of aliens, and they all expected her to fail. But humans were good at one thing. They were good at proving people wrong. She closed her eyes and thought about home, about Earth, about all the people who believed in her. She would not let them down. She would not let herself down. Tomorrow, the real test would begin, and Hana Kim would show Commander Vorath exactly what humans were made of. Sleep came slowly, but when it did, she dreamed of running. Running so far and so long that everyone else had to stop and watch in amazement. In her dream, she never stopped running. She never stopped at all. Dawn came early on Station Meridian 7. The sirens started screaming before Hana was ready. She rolled out of her bunk and landed hard on the metal floor. Around her, the other recruits were already moving, grabbing their gear and heading for the door. Hana pulled on her boots and ran after them. Her body was still tired from the trip, but she pushed the feeling away. Weakness was not an option here. The training ground was outside the main station in a section with artificial gravity. The ground was red dirt, hard and dusty. Mountains rose in the distance, but Hana knew they weren't real. Everything here was built for training, built to break weak recruits. Commander Vorath stood at the starting line, arms crossed. He didn't look tired. He looked hungry. 50 kilometers, he announced. You will run until you finish or until you collapse. We will carry the failures back to the station. His yellow eyes found Hana in the crowd. I expect to carry many of you today. The recruits lined up. Hana stood at the back, trying to stay out of sight. Tal was somewhere ahead, its 6 legs ready to run. The other recruits were all bigger, stronger, faster. But Hana had trained for this. She knew her body. She knew what it could do. A horn blared. Everyone started running. The bigger recruits shot forward like missiles. They had long legs and powerful muscles. Within seconds, they were far ahead. Hana ran at her own pace, steady and controlled. She had learned long ago that speed didn't matter in a long race. Only endurance mattered. The first 10 kilometers were easy. The alien recruits ran fast, their feet pounding the ground like drums. Hana kept her breathing steady, her steps light. She passed a few recruits who had started too fast and were already slowing down. At 20 kilometers, things changed. The bigger aliens started to struggle. Their breathing became ragged. Some of them stumbled. One of them, a massive creature covered in gray fur, fell to its knees and didn't get up. Medical drones flew down to collect it. Hana kept running. Her legs hurt, but it was a good hurt. A familiar hurt. She had run farther than this back on Earth, through mountains and deserts. This was nothing new. At 30 kilometers, half the recruits had dropped out. Hana was now in the middle of the pack. Tail was still ahead, its 6 legs moving like pistons. But the insect was slowing down too. Everyone was slowing down except Hana. She kept the same pace she had started with. Steady, controlled, never stopping. Commander Vorath watched from a hover platform that followed the runners. He had been watching Hana for the last 10 kilometers, his eyes narrowed. This wasn't supposed to happen. The human was supposed to quit. She was supposed to fail. But she just kept running. At 40 kilometers, Hana passed Tail. The big insect was breathing hard, its shell wet with something that might have been sweat. It looked at her as she went by, and Hana saw surprise in its black eyes. How? Tal gasped. How are you still running? Hana didn't answer. She didn't have the breath to waste on talking. She just kept moving, one foot in front of the other, the way humans had been doing for thousands of years. By the time she crossed the finish line, only 10 recruits were ahead of her. They were all gasping, lying on the ground, barely able to move. Hana was breathing hard, but she was still standing. She bent over and put her hands on her knees, waiting for her heart to slow down. Commander Vorath's platform landed nearby. He stepped off and walked toward her. His face was unreadable. "How much did you weigh down your pack?" he demanded. Hana straightened up. "I didn't, sir. Liar, you must have." "No creature your size can run that far." "Humans can, sir." Hana's voice was quiet but firm. "We evolved to do it." Vorath stared at her for a long moment. Then he turned and walked away without another word. Hana watched him go. She had not made a friend today. She had made something worse. An enemy who was also afraid. The rest of the week was harder. Vorath seemed determined to break her. He assigned her to the most difficult exercises. He paired her with the biggest, most aggressive recruits for combat training. He made her carry equipment designed for aliens 3 times her size. Hana endured it all. Her body hurt every night. She had bruises on her bruises. But she didn't quit. She didn't even complain. On the 5th day, she met another human. His name was Minho Lee, and he was an engineer assigned to maintain the training equipment. He was older than her, maybe 30, with tired eyes and grease on his uniform. They met in the meal hall. Hana was sitting alone, as usual, eating something that was supposed to be protein paste but tasted like glue. Minho sat down across from her. "You're Hana Kim," he said. "Everyone's talking about you, are they?" Hana kept eating. The food was terrible, but her body needed it. "You made Vorath look stupid. He said you'd quit in a day, and here you are almost a week later, still standing." Minho smiled. "I like that. He hates me," Hana said. "He hates all humans." "But you made it personal." Minho leaned forward. "Be careful. Vorath isn't just a soldier. He's a politician, too. He wants the Scarith Empire to control the coalition military. Humans are a threat to that." "How?" "We're small. We're weak. Everyone says so." Minho shook his head. "That's what they think. But they're wrong. Do you know why humans survived on Earth? It wasn't because we were strong. It was because we were stubborn. We didn't give up. Ever. We hunted animals by just following them until they collapsed from exhaustion. We survived ice ages and droughts and predators that should have killed us. We survived because we refused to die." Hana thought about that. It made sense. Every day here she felt like prey being hunted, but she was still standing. "There's something else," Minho said quietly. "Humans have adrenaline. Most aliens don't. When we're in danger, our bodies flood with chemicals that make us stronger, faster, more resistant to pain. We can do things in an emergency that would be impossible normally. These aliens have no idea what that means." "Why are you telling me this?" Hana asked. "Because something's wrong. I've been here for 2 years, and I've never seen a commander target one recruit like Vorath is targeting you. He's planning something. I don't know what, but I want you to be ready." That night, Hana couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about what Minho had said. Vorath was planning something. But what? She got her answer 3 days later. Commander Vorath announced a special training exercise in the combat arena. It was supposed to be a team exercise, but he split the groups in a strange way. Hana's team was all humans and smaller aliens. The opposing team was made up of the biggest, most aggressive recruits. The exercise was simple. One team had to defend a position. The other team had to take it. The weapons were supposed to be non-lethal, loaded with stun rounds that would knock someone out but not hurt them. But as Hana checked her weapon before the exercise, she noticed something. The opposing team's weapons looked different, heavier. The barrels were a different color. She found Minho in the equipment bay. "Look at this," she said, showing him one of the opposing team's weapons. Minho's face went pale. "That's not a training weapon. That's real. Those are live rounds. Are you sure?" "I maintain this equipment. I know every weapon in this facility." He grabbed her shoulders. "Don't do the exercise. Report this to Lieutenant Park. This is illegal." But before Hana could move, the sirens blared. The exercise was starting. There was no time to report anything. She was being herded into the arena with her team, and the doors were closing behind them. Hana looked up at the observation deck. Commander Vorath stood there watching, waiting. And for the first time since she arrived at this station, Hana felt real fear. This wasn't training anymore. This was something else, something dangerous, and she was trapped in the middle of it. The arena lights dimmed. The exercise had begun, and somewhere in the artificial canyons ahead, a team with real weapons was hunting her. Hana checked her weapon one more time. Stun rounds. She was armed with toys while someone out there had bullets. She took a deep breath. Her heart was pounding. Her hands were shaking. But she wasn't going to run away. She wasn't going to hide. She was human, and humans didn't quit, not ever. The arena was designed to look like a real battlefield. Tall stone walls rose on both sides, creating narrow canyons that twisted and turned. The ground was covered in loose rocks that shifted under Hana's boots. Above them, the ceiling projected a fake sky with dark clouds. Hana's team moved carefully through the canyon. There were 5 of them, Hana and Minho, who had insisted on joining her team at the last second. Tail, the big insect, who had started treating her with something like respect, and 2 other aliens, smaller species who looked just as nervous as Hana felt. "Stay close," Minho whispered. "Watch the high ground." They moved deeper into the canyon. The walls grew taller, blocking out most of the artificial light. Shadows stretched across the ground. Hana's heart was pounding so hard she could hear it in her ears. From the observation deck high above, Commander Vorath watched through the cameras. Lieutenant Park stood next to him, his face tight with worry. "This is a standard exercise," Vorath said, not looking at Park. "Your human recruit will learn what real combat feels like." "Those weapons," Park said carefully. "They look heavier than normal training equipment. Better training tools. Newer models." Vorath's smile showed too many teeth. "Perfectly safe." Park didn't believe him. But he was just a lieutenant. Vorath was a commander. There was nothing Park could do except watch and hope his gut feeling was wrong. In the canyon, Hana's team reached a narrow choke point. The walls closed in on both sides, leaving barely enough room for 2 people to walk side by side. "I don't like this," Tal said, its voice clicking nervously. "This is a kill zone. Perfect place for an ambush." "We don't have a choice," Minho said. "The objective is on the other side. We have to go through." They started moving through the narrow passage. Hana went first, her weapon raised. Her hands were sweating. Every instinct she had was screaming danger. This felt wrong. All of it felt wrong. They were halfway through when the shooting started. The first blast hit the alien behind Hana. He went down hard, crying out in pain. But it wasn't the sharp cry of someone hit by a stun round. It was the scream of someone really hurt. "Get down," Minho shouted. More shots came from above. The opposing team was on the canyon walls, firing down at them. Tail took a hit and collapsed, its legs folding under it. The other small alien tried to run and was shot in the back. It fell face first into the rocks and didn't move. Hana pressed herself against the canyon wall. Minho was next to her, breathing hard. Blood was running down his arm where a bullet had grazed him. "Live rounds," he gasped. "I was right. They're using live rounds." On the observation deck, Lieutenant Park grabbed Vorath's arm. "Stop this. They're using real ammunition." "This is murder." Vorath pushed him away. "They are using training weapons." "You are mistaken. I can see the blood from here." Park reached for his communicator, but 2 Scarith guards blocked his way. He was trapped. He could only watch as his people died in the arena below. In the canyon, Hana looked at her team. 3 were down, maybe dead. Minho was bleeding. She was the only one still in fighting condition. And the enemy team was above them, reloading. She could hear their voices echoing off the canyon walls. They were laughing. They thought this was fun. Something changed inside Hana. The fear was still there, but something else rose up beside it. Something older. Something that came from a time when humans were still prey animals running across ancient plains, when every day was life or death, when giving up meant dying. Her body flooded with adrenaline, her vision sharpened, her hearing became more acute. Her heart slowed down, became steady and strong. This was what Minho had told her about. This was the human edge. "Stay here," she told Minho. "Keep pressure on that wound." "What are you doing?" Minho grabbed at her, but she pulled away. "What I was trained to do." Hana stepped out from cover and started running toward the enemy position. Shots rang out immediately. She felt the first bullet hit her in the left shoulder. It punched through her armor and into her flesh. The pain was enormous, like being hit with a hammer made of fire. But she didn't fall. She kept running. Another bullet hit her in the side, just below her ribs. She felt it tear through muscle and tissue. Blood started soaking her uniform. Her body screamed at her to stop, to lie down, to give up. She kept running. A third bullet caught her in the thigh. Her leg nearly buckled, but she forced it to keep moving. She had to reach them. She had to get close enough to fight back. On the observation deck, the entire command staff had gathered. They were watching the monitors in stunned silence. The small human had been shot 3 times with live ammunition. She should be dead. She should be on the ground, bleeding out, but she was still moving. Still fighting. What is she? Someone whispered. Hana reached the base of the canyon wall where the enemy team was positioned. They were 20 meters above her, firing down. But the angle was bad now that she was so close. They couldn't get a clear shot without leaning over the edge. She started climbing. Her left arm barely worked, but she used her right arm and her legs. Blood ran down her body, making the rock slippery. Every movement sent waves of pain through her, but she didn't stop. She couldn't stop. One of the enemy soldiers leaned over the edge to get a shot at her. Hana grabbed his weapon with her good hand and pulled. He was bigger than her, heavier, but he was off balance. He toppled over the edge and fell past her, hitting the ground below with a sickening crunch. The others backed away from the edge. She could hear them arguing, panicking. They hadn't expected this. Nobody had expected this. Hana pulled herself over the top of the wall and rolled onto flat ground. Her vision was starting to blur from blood loss, but she could see them. 5 soldiers, all bigger than her, all armed with real weapons. And Commander Vorath himself standing behind them with a rifle in his hands. "Impossible," Vorath said. His voice shook with something that might have been fear. "You should be dead." Hana tried to stand, but her leg gave out. She fell to one knee. Blood was pooling around her. She was dying. She knew she was dying. But she wasn't dead yet. "I'm human," she said. Her voice was weak but clear. "We don't die easy." Vorath raised his rifle, aiming at her head. "Then I'll make sure this time." But before he could fire, his hands started shaking. The rifle fell from his grip and clattered on the ground. He staggered backward, clutching at his throat. His red scales were turning a darker color, almost purple. "What?" he tried to say, but his voice wouldn't work anymore. The other soldiers backed away from him. Vorath fell to his knees, his eyes wide with shock and confusion. Foam appeared at his mouth. His massive body shook once, twice, and then went still. Commander Vorath, the great warrior of the Scarith Empire, was dead. Hana watched him fall. She was still on her knees, still bleeding. She didn't understand what had just happened. All she knew was that the danger was over. Vorath was gone. She had survived. Medical drones were flooding into the arena now, along with security teams. Someone was shouting orders. Hands grabbed Hana and laid her down on a stretcher. She could hear Minho's voice calling her name. "Stay with me," he was saying. "Hana, stay awake. You did it. You survived. Just stay awake." But darkness was closing in around her vision. Her body had reached its limit. She had run on adrenaline and willpower, but both were finally running out. The last thing she saw before unconsciousness took her was Lieutenant Park's face above her. And he was smiling. "You're going to be okay," he said. "You're going to live." And the whole galaxy just learned what humans are capable of. Then everything went black and Hana Kim fell into darkness, her blood painting the arena floor red. But she was still breathing. Against all odds, against all logic, she was still alive, still standing, even in defeat, still human. Hana woke up in the medical bay 3 days later. The ceiling above her was white and clean, and machines beeped softly around her bed. She tried to move and immediately regretted it. Her whole body felt like one giant bruise. "Don't move." Minho's voice came from her left. He was sitting in a chair next to her bed, his arm wrapped in bandages. "You've been healing. The doctor said you need rest. What happened?" Hana's throat was dry and her voice came out as a whisper. "You survived." Minho handed her a cup of water. 3 gunshot wounds, massive blood loss, and you still managed to climb a wall and make Vorath drop his weapon. The medical staff can't believe you're alive. Hana drank slowly. The water felt like the best thing she had ever tasted. "Vorath, he died. I saw him die. But I didn't kill him." "No, you didn't." Minho leaned forward. "That's the interesting part. The autopsy showed poison in his system, a slow-acting toxin from his own homeworld. Someone had been poisoning him for days, maybe weeks. He just happened to die right in front of you. Who poisoned him? That's what security is trying to figure out." Minho glanced at the door, then lowered his voice. "But there's a theory. Vorath had enemies in his own empire, other commanders who wanted his position. One of them might have poisoned him and planned to blame you for his death. Hana closed her eyes. Politics. She hated politics. And my team? Tail and the others? Tail is fine. Stunned but recovering. The others were hurt, but they'll live. You were the only one who took real bullets and survived. Minho smiled, but it was a sad smile. You became a legend in 3 days. Everyone in the station is talking about the human who wouldn't die. Over the next week, doctors came to examine Hana constantly. They weren't human doctors. They were aliens of every species, all fascinated by her recovery. They scanned her with machines, took samples of her blood, asked her endless questions. A Scarith doctor, smaller and older than Vorath, examined her wounds with particular interest. His scales were green instead of red, and his manner was gentle. Remarkable, he said, looking at the healing bullet wound in her shoulder. The projectile passed through major muscle groups. In my species, this wound would have caused permanent paralysis. But your nerves are already reconnecting. Your body is rebuilding itself. Humans heal fast, Hana said. Not just fast, efficiently. The doctor made notes on his datapad. Your species has redundant systems. Multiple pathways for blood flow. Nerve clusters that can reroute signals. Bones that knit themselves back together. You're built to survive damage that would kill most other species. Another doctor, this one insectoid like Tael, examined the wound in her side. The bullet missed your vital organs by centimeters. Pure luck. Or instinct, the Scarith doctor corrected. Notice how she twisted her body as she ran. She minimized the damage without conscious thought. Her species evolved under constant threat. They learned to protect their vital areas automatically. Hana listened to them discuss her body like she was a machine they were trying to understand. In a way, she supposed that's what she was. A machine built by evolution to survive, to endure. To keep going when everything said she should stop. Lieutenant Park visited her on the 5th day. He looked tired but relieved. How are you feeling? He asked. Like I was shot 3 times, Hana said. But better than I expected. Park laughed. I suppose that's accurate. He sat down in the visitor's chair. I need to tell you what's been happening. The investigation into Vorath's death has revealed a lot. You were right to be suspicious. This was all a setup. He pulled out a datapad and showed her the report. One of Vorath's rivals, a commander named Kresh, poisoned him 2 weeks ago. Slow-acting toxin, designed to kill him during a stressful situation. Kresh planned to claim that you murdered Vorath during the exercise. He wanted to use it as proof that humans are dangerous and should be expelled from the Coalition military. But I didn't kill him, Hana said. We know. The cameras caught everything. They saw you get shot. They saw you survive. They saw Vorath die from poison, not from anything you did. Park smiled. The evidence cleared you completely. And it did something else too. It showed the entire Coalition what humans are capable of. He turned the pad to show her a video. It was footage from the arena, from the moment she started running. Hana watched herself take bullet after bullet and keep moving. It looked impossible. It looked insane. This video has been seen by every member of the Coalition Council, Park said. Every military commander. Every politician. They're all talking about it. Some are afraid, some are impressed. But none of them will ever call humans weak again. Hana didn't know how to feel about that. She hadn't meant to become a symbol. She had just been trying to survive. There's more, Park continued. Kresh has been arrested. His entire conspiracy has fallen apart. He was planning to start a war between the Scarith Empire and humanity. He wanted to strike while we were still small and vulnerable. But his plan failed because you refused to die. I wasn't trying to be heroic, Hana said quietly. I was just trying to live. That's what makes it heroic. Park stood up. Take your time healing. When you're ready, you have a choice to make. The Coalition is offering you early promotion, commander rank. They want you to help train other humans for combat roles. Hana shook her head. I don't want to be a commander. What do you want? She thought about it. She thought about the people in the arena, bleeding and hurt. She thought about Minho, wounded because he tried to help her. She thought about all the soldiers who would be hurt in the future in real battles, not training exercises. I want to be a medic, she said. I want to save people, not hurt them. Park looked surprised, then nodded slowly. That's a good choice. Maybe the best choice. The galaxy needs more people who want to save lives. He left, and Hana was alone with her thoughts. She looked down at her bandaged body. The doctor said she would have scars. permanent reminders of the day she almost died. But she was alive. That was what mattered. Tail visited her that afternoon. The big insect brought her a tray of food from the meal hall. I am told humans enjoy variety in their diet, Tail said. I brought several options, Hana smiled. Thank you, Tail. The insect settled its large body on the floor next to her bed. Its black eyes studied her. I must apologize. When you first arrived, I believed you were weak. I was wrong. You weren't wrong, Hana said. I am weak. Compared to most species here, humans are small and fragile. But you survived 3 bullets. Yes, how? Hana thought about how to explain it. My people come from a dangerous world. For millions of years, we were prey. We were hunted by things bigger and stronger than us. We survived because we learned to endure. We learned to keep going even when we were hurt. Even when we wanted to give up. It's in our bones. In our blood. We don't know how to quit. Tail was quiet for a long moment. My people have a saying. The strongest metal is forged in the hottest fire. Your species was forged in a very hot fire. I guess we were. Commander Vorath did not understand this. He thought strength was only about size and power. He did not realize that strength can also be about endurance. About will. About refusing to surrender. Tael stood up. I am honored to have you as my bunkmate, Hana Kim. And when you return to training, I hope you will teach me about human endurance. After Tael left, Hana lay in her bed and looked at her hands. They were small hands. Weak hands by alien standards, but they had climbed a canyon wall while bleeding from 3 bullet wounds. They had refused to let go. Maybe that was enough. Maybe being human meant you didn't need to be the biggest or the strongest. You just needed to be too stubborn to quit. Hana closed her eyes and rested. Tomorrow she would start physical therapy. Next week she would return to training. And someday soon she would take her place among the stars as a soldier, a medic, and a representative of humanity. They would never underestimate her species again. She had made sure of that. 2 months later, Hana stood in the training yard and watched the new recruits arrive. There were more humans this time. 20 of them from different countries on Earth, all looking nervous and excited. They carried their bags and stared at the massive station around them, just like she had done. But something was different now. When the human recruits walked past the alien soldiers, nobody laughed. Nobody whispered insults. Instead, the aliens watched them with careful respect. Some even nodded in greeting. Hana's wounds had healed well. The doctors were amazed at how fast her body had recovered. She had 3 scars now. 1 on her shoulder, 1 on her side, 1 on her thigh. She could have had them removed with medical procedures, but she chose to keep them. They were reminders, not of pain, but of survival. Lieutenant Park, who had been promoted to captain after the investigation, stood next to her. How do you feel? He asked. Strange, Hana admitted. I'm not used to being famous. You better get used to it. Those recruits are here because of you. They saw the video. They saw what you did. You showed them that humans belong in the coalition military. The video. It was everywhere now. Every human on Earth had seen it. The small woman running through gunfire, taking bullets, refusing to fall. The aliens had watched it too, and their attitude toward humanity had changed overnight. Some of them were still hostile. Some of them still thought humans were dangerous and should be controlled, but none of them thought humans were weak anymore. That myth had died in the arena along with Commander Vorath. Captain Park, one of the new recruits, approached them. She was young, maybe 19, with bright eyes and a nervous smile. Is it true? Is she really here? The one from the video? Park gestured to Hana. Meet Recruit Kim, she'll be helping with your training. The young recruit's eyes went wide. I can't believe it. You're the reason I joined. When I saw what you did, I knew I wanted to be part of this. I wanted to show the galaxy what humans can do. Hana didn't know what to say. She had never wanted to be anyone's hero. She had just been trying to survive. But she could see the determination in the recruit's eyes. The hope, the pride. What's your name? Hana asked. Recruit Jiwon Park, no relation to the captain. She smiled. Well, maybe distant relation. Park is a common name. Welcome to Meridian 7, Jiwon. Training starts tomorrow. Get some rest tonight. You'll need it. Jiwon saluted and ran off to join the other recruits. Captain Park chuckled. She's going to be a handful. They all are, Hana said. But she was smiling. That evening, Hana sat in the meal hall with Minho and Tael. They had become friends over the past 2 months. An unlikely group, a human woman, a human man, and a giant insect. But they understood each other. The council made their decision today, Minho said, pushing his food around his plate. Humans are approved for all combat roles. Full integration into coalition military forces. No restrictions, that's good, Hana said. It's more than good. It's historic. Minho leaned forward. Do you realize what this means? For centuries, the coalition military has been dominated by warrior species. The Scarith, the Vorlons, the Tusk clans. They made all the decisions about war and peace. But now humans have a voice. We can influence policy. We can advocate for peaceful solutions instead of just fighting. Tail clicked its mandibles thoughtfully. My government has requested human advisors. They want to learn about human endurance training, about persistence hunting, about psychological warfare. Your species has skills that no one else has. We're not warriors by nature, Hana said. We just learned how to fight because we had to. That is what makes you dangerous, Tile said. Warriors love fighting. Humans don't. You fight because you must, not because you want to. That makes you more careful, more strategic, more deadly when necessary. Hana thought about that. It was true that humans didn't worship war the way some species did. Back on Earth, the worst wars in history were the ones humans regretted most. They built monuments to peace, not to victory. They taught their children that war was a last resort, not a first choice. Maybe that was humanity's real strength, not endurance or adrenaline or pain tolerance, but the wisdom to know when to fight and when to stop fighting. A month later, Hana completed her medical training and officially became a combat medic. She received her new uniform at a ceremony attended by officers from a dozen different species. Captain Park pinned the medical insignia on her chest. Congratulations, Medic Kim, he said formally. Then more quietly, your parents would be proud. Hana had sent messages home to Earth every week. Her parents had watched the video like everyone else. Her mother had cried. Her father had wanted to come to the station immediately, but Hana told them to stay home. She would visit when she had leave. After the ceremony, Hana returned to the barracks. Her bunk was covered in gifts from other recruits. Most of them were simple things. Protein bars, medical supplies, good luck charms from different cultures, but there was one gift that stood out. It was a small knife made of some kind of dark metal. A note was attached to it. The writing was in Scarith, but there was a translation underneath. This belonged to Commander Vorath. His family wanted you to have it. They say you defeated him honorably even though you did not kill him. They hope there is no blood debt between your people and ours. Hana picked up the knife. It was heavy and well made. A warrior's weapon. She didn't particularly want it, but she understood the gesture. This was the Scarith way of making peace, of showing respect. She put the knife in her locker and closed the door. Maybe someday she would find a use for it, or maybe it would just stay there as a reminder that even enemies could become allies given time and understanding. The next day, Hana began her work as a combat medic. She was assigned to training exercises, ready to help anyone who got injured. It was good work, important work. She saved 3 lives in the first week alone, patching up recruits who had accidents during drills. But the most important moment came during a night exercise. One of the new human recruits, Jiwon, had gotten separated from her team. She was lost in the training area, alone and scared. Hana found her sitting against a wall crying. I can't do this, Jiwon said. I'm not strong enough. I'm not like you. Hana sat down next to her. You don't need to be like me. But you survived 3 bullets. You climbed a wall while bleeding. You're a hero. I'm not a hero, Hana said firmly. I'm just someone who refused to quit. And you can do that too. You don't need to be shot. You don't need to do anything dramatic. You just need to keep going. One step at a time. One day at a time. That's all any of us can do. Jiwon wiped her eyes. What if I fail? Then you get up and try again. That's what humans do. We fall down a lot, but we always get back up. They sat together in the darkness for a while. Then Jiwon stood up, took a deep breath, and said, Okay, let's go back. I'm ready, Hana smiled. That's the spirit. 6 months after the incident in the arena, the station held a memorial service for Commander Vorath. Despite everything, he had been a soldier for 40 years. He had fought in wars and saved lives and done his duty. He deserved to be remembered. Hana attended the service. So did Captain Park and most of the human contingent. The Scarith soldiers who had served under Vorath looked at them with complicated expressions. Respect and resentment mixed together. The Scarith commander gave the eulogy. He was an old warrior with white scales and tired eyes. Commander Vorath believed in strength, he said. He believed that only the strong deserve to survive. But he learned in his final days that strength comes in many forms. The humans taught us this lesson. They taught us that endurance is strength, that will is strength, that refusing to surrender is perhaps the greatest strength of all. He looked directly at Hana. The human recruit honored our commander with her courage. She did not kill him, but she defeated him nonetheless. She showed him and all of us that we had underestimated her species. We will not make that mistake again. After the service, Hana stood at the observation window and looked out at the stars. Earth was out there somewhere, too far away to see. But she could feel it. Home. The planet that had made her what she was. Tile found her there. You are thinking about home? Yes. Do you regret coming here? Hana thought about it. The pain, the fear, the long months of healing. The weight of being a symbol instead of just a soldier. No, she said finally. I don't regret it. This is where I'm supposed to be. Why? Because someone had to be first. Someone had to show the galaxy that humans belong here. That we're not just diplomats or engineers. We're survivors. We're fighters when we need to be. And we're healers when we can be. She touched her hand to the window. I'm proud to be that someone. Tail clicked its mandibles, and what Hana had learned was a gesture of approval. The humans have a saying, I believe. About small things in packages? Hana laughed. Good things come in small packages. Yes, that one. It is very appropriate. They stood together at the window, watching the stars. Behind them, the station hummed with life. Aliens and humans working together. Learning from each other. Building something new. It wasn't perfect. There were still conflicts. Still misunderstandings. Still people who hated or feared what they didn't understand. But it was a start. And if humans were good at anything, it was starting from nothing and building something great.